Here's a game. Next time you walk past a castle, look at the walls. Really look. You'll spot square holes, dozens of them, punched into the stone from the ground to the sky. Tourists have been guessing what they are for centuries, and most of them guess wrong. Some of those holes held up scaffolding, some held up floors, and one row, just one, is the ghost of a weapon. Let's start with the most common holes first. When medieval builders raised a wall, they didn't stand outside on a freestanding tower of poles. They built the scaffolding into the wall as they went. One end of a wooden beam, a putlog, sat in a socket in the stone. The other end rested on a vertical pole. As the wall grew taller, the builders left a new row of holes every 5 or 6 feet, climbed up, and kept stacking stone. When the wall was done, the beams were pulled out, or sometimes sawn off flush, left to rot, and eventually crumble away, leaving behind a perfect square ghost in the masonry. These holes have been sitting there for 800 years. The wall remembers its own birth. How do you spot these ones? Easy. They're small, about 4 to 6 inches across. They cover the whole face of the wall, bottom to top, in a neat rising grid. On a round tower, that grid wraps right around it. Both sides of the wall, inside and out, because sometimes the beam went all the way through. Now, a quick myth. In old English churches, you'll sometimes find a small square hole in the wall at about eye height. Tour guides love to call this a leper squint, a window so that lepers, banned from entering, could watch the service from outside. Great story. Not true. Those are putlog holes. The builders sawed off their scaffolding beams, the wood rotted out, and 8 centuries later a tour guide invented a better story. The lepers never peeked through anything. The builders just left their homework in the wall. So, if most square holes are just scaffolding scars, what's the weapon? Look at the top of the wall. Just below the battlements, there's usually a single, neat, horizontal row of holes, bigger than the scaffolding ones, more deliberately placed, sometimes doubled. And on round towers, they don't spiral. They ring the crown in one clean line. That row is different. Those sockets were built on purpose, left permanently open, never filled, because when an army appeared on the horizon, heavy oak beams would be slid back into those exact holes. Floor them, wall them, roof them, and the castle wall grows a covered wooden balcony, the war balcony we talked about last episode. The ghost sockets. One row of holes, and the wall transforms from a passive barrier into a weapon. If you watched episode 1, you've met this idea already. Those sockets are how the hoardings attached. The wall was pre-drilled for war, and here's where it gets wild. In the 1850s, a French architect named Viollet-le-Duc arrived at the crumbling fortress of Carcassonne. The wooden hoardings were long gone, rotted away centuries ago. But the putlog holes were still there, every single socket, exactly where the medieval builders had left it. He read those holes like a detective reads fingerprints, measuring their depth, their spacing, how far they projected from the wall face. And from that evidence alone, he rebuilt entire wooden fighting galleries. You can visit Carcassonne today and see his reconstruction. But if you want the real thing, the unrestored original, go to Aigues-Mortes. 1,650 meters of 13th century walls with every putlog hole exactly as the masons left them. No Victorian architect cleaned them up. No restorer filled them in. Just the holes, the stone, and 800 years of silence. One last thing. At Aigues-Mortes Castle in Wales, someone noticed something nobody can fully explain. The putlog holes are slanting, angled into the stone. Nowhere else in Britain does this. Why? Nobody knows for certain. Maybe to tilt the hoarding beams at a defensive angle. Maybe something else entirely. The wall is keeping that secret. Time for Watt's inspection report. Hole identification. Grid equals scaffolding. Single row at the top equals wall balcony. Never mix them up. Leper squint status. Busted. Aigues-Mortes authenticity. Untouched since 1270. Beaumaris mystery. Still open. What's verdict? 7 out of 10. The holes do all the talking. Next time you visit a castle, or even an old church, stop, Look at the wall, find the holes, count the rows, and ask yourself, which ones built this place, and which ones were built to defend it? The answer has been staring out of the stone for 8 centuries. Nobody was looking. Next time on Siegecraft, the one original hoarding that survived. 800 years of oak still standing in a French town called Laval. Every source is in the description. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.